Good morning, everyone. My name is Pari Nejatie. I'm with Lennard Commercial Realty on the Life Sciences Division. We have an incredible guest here today, Carolee Turner. She's with POI, as the lead of business development for the business furniture unit. Is that how you would summarize your full title?
Well, everything pretty much interiors related. So furniture is what we're best known for, but outside of furniture, we also do demountable walls, we do alternative construction, AV integration, move services. So anything that you need to do within a fixed space, consider us for.
Excellent. So we chatted a few weeks ago with our teams just to introduce one another's startup divisions within, in our case, the life sciences. We do have tenured individuals within our team, but our actual work that we're starting at Lennard is essentially as a startup. So we sympathize with a lot of companies that are growing their team, needing space, looking at specific types of office furniture. And what you and I had chatted further on is the fact that the return to work strategy needs to include concepts about having a people-centric environment when people return back to the workplace as COVID restrictions ease around the communities. What has been your personal experience on the furniture side, on the business furniture side of things?
So it's been a broad spectrum. Some people are excited to return to the office. A lot of companies that never really considered a work from home policy are now kind of being forced down that road. So I think there's going to be a shift, more of like a heightened sense of taking a look at real estate more from a strategic level. I think a lot of organizations value real estate now more so than ever, because when you kind of pull everybody apart, you send everybody home. It's hard to, first of all, onboard people and stay connected to the overall culture and mission and all of the great things that happen in a common area, which would we call the office place. So as people start thinking about coming back, there's definitely a reluctance. Some people are hesitant. They're concerned about their personal safety. There's other considerations as well. How do I be safe? How do I optimize my time? Do I want to come back to the office? And so companies are going to have to do things a lot differently than they did previously, for sure.
Yeah, and safety, like I've seen numerous times, even in our office, we want people to collaborate. We want people to get together and have those spur of the moment conversations that usually just happens in an office setting. It's really hard to have a great idea and just schedule a Zoom. It's a lot easier to just walk into your office and say, hey, Carolee, I've got this great idea. What do you think? What is the office furniture industry doing to welcome the return back to the workplace, keeping safety in mind and collaboration high?
So, I mean, there's multiple approaches to this. One of the things that we warn, we caution organizations against is to not try and get it completely perfect. And this is something novel in our industry, because what we've typically seen is that offices are planned pretty much as they correlate with their leases. So if they have a 10-year lease, they plan their office once, and then they take a look at it 10 years later, or when there's a significant change to the organization. And we've been saying this for a long, long time. Why are we trying to get it perfect on day one when day two things are already going to change? So rather than trying to get it 100% perfect on day one, build in some flexibility, build in some modularity so that you can make some minor adjustments. Don't set everything in stone, because it doesn't even matter if you get it perfect on the first day. 6 months later, it might not even apply. And this is particularly relevant to the life sciences.
Yeah, and I think having that dialogue with industry experts that understand space is really critical right now, because that way, as things evolve internally within an organization or as the business scales up and grows, having that dialogue, that relationship with companies like POI really does make a difference. And I've seen that many times. People start off a business like, this is the seating plan, this is where everyone's going to be working out of, this is their lunch quarters, this is their brainstorming rooms, right? That's not necessarily the case. And you're right, we don't need to get it right the first time. There is a lot of apprehension, but you have to do something. You have to show your staff in particular that you're being proactive right now as you welcome them back to the workplace.
Yes, and there's other considerations as well. Never have we talked about air quality. That was something that Lennard dealt with. And now there's tons of modular solutions out there. We now have solutions for that as well. Those units, and what they also do is provide a visual reassurance to people that there's these filtration systems. If they're behind the walls, how do you see them? I'd rather see this unit, as beautiful as they are, right in the middle of the room, which gives me that reassurance that air quality is something that's being addressed by the company. So there's some visual cues that companies can do to address some of those concerns as well.
Yeah, I meant to say something when we had our initial introduction to POI, seeing those units, I'd be the first one in the company to raise my hand and say, can I sit beside the machine? I don't know, the cleanest air in the office in that case, but it does make people feel more comfortable knowing that their employers, their companies that they're partnered with or work for, or even a consultant for, when they walk into the office, they feel safe. You just have to provide that reassurance, and visual cues in this case are very critical. You can tell them all you want about the sophisticated HVAC behind the ceiling walls. It doesn't make the same impact. You have to provide that trust. And you're right, those units were quite pleasant to see in the introduction to POI. So I would encourage any of our life science clients, even any engineering firms, IT, law firms, status quo is not the case anymore. You do need to be a bit more proactive, and you need to showcase that your company is looking after its employees as best as it can.
Yeah, and I think that to alleviate some of the concerns that some companies have. So if you don't have a major shift in your return to work strategy, or maybe you're not, you still have your existing floor plan that you're dealing with, companies might have this impression that they need to make significant changes in order to accommodate different kind of settings and stuff like that. And oftentimes that's just not the case. So for example, if you have a company that had 100% occupancy where everybody was coming into the office every single day, forcefully by some degree of balancing a work from home program, all of a sudden you won't have 100% occupancy. And so if you come to us, and we can take a look at what your floor plan is, we can actually help you build a work from home strategy with the existing settings that you have, and making really insignificant changes. Also factoring that technology is going to be a little bit different as we move forward, because we're doing a lot more blended type of attendance. So if you're factoring people working from home and those that are in the office, how to create a great experience so that it's not so different. So typically the people who are in the office had a much better collaborative experience than people who are kind of tuning in remotely. I mean, there's lots of tools out there, again, without knocking down walls or doing anything that's super significant, that you can do to address and actually improve that collaborative setting for everybody.
Yeah. So the future of the workplace is not standard anymore, and just having dialogue with companies like POI does make a difference. Our division at Lennard, especially the division I work at, does focus on the life sciences, the lab sciences. Obviously, with COVID, they didn't necessarily shut down because they were essential, so they were still working, but just having that dialogue saying people are still concerned about their well-being when they're coming into the office. And typically the life sciences have always looked after sanitation and air quality to begin with, just because of the nature of the industry they're in. But there is ways to make the workplace where people actually are not necessarily at their benches, but they're actually sitting and having meetings. That is also addressed, that they're also feeling safe outside of the lab environment. And they can have those conversations with the co-workers, their peers, their leadership, and not worry about, now that I left the lab, is it still safe air in the boardroom, for example, right?
Yeah, there's going to be definitely a stronger emphasis on people. And from your experience, I know that you've worked with a lot of executives. Your background is in the executive search area. What do you see as like the biggest connection between the physical environment and people and all of that? Like what's your stance on the importance of creating a physical environment that allows people to thrive, I should say?
Historically, leaders would just do the typical work environment. The executives would get the big offices with the big windows, and the support staff would work anywhere else. There wasn't that much thought put into it. But in the last year, especially during the pandemic, especially in the life sciences, they became a little bit more interested in making sure their employees felt that they had the right environment to be thriving when they come in. So I've seen an incredible life science company who gave up the fancy office for the executives and made it the room for the staff to hang out and lounge. So just being selfless and understanding that it doesn't matter if you have the prime real estate office, especially if you're the founder, just having that humble attitude and creating an environment where people actually want to come into work and now walk by the president's office, which is the fanciest one. Now it became the boardroom where anyone could stop in, or a lounge room where they could stop in. And just the lines are more blurred. Leadership is not keeping the executives in a separate area. They want to have that interaction with one another. And I think coming back to the workplace, or if you've already been working, reassuring your staff that yes, there is a leadership tier in a company, but we're also human. We also understand what you're going through. We all have families, and we're no, I don't want to say the word better, but we're no different. So we would like to create a work environment that reflects that we are peers at the end of the day. We have a common goal to make this company succeed. So I've seen the mindset of executives from before was very like different pillars that you have to get through to talk to your boss. It's not that way. That open door policy became an open office policy. Anyone can talk to anyone, and there's no needing to necessarily have an appointment to speak with the leaders. So I've seen that, and it's been a very positive change with leadership mindset.
Well, I mean, it makes sense when everybody's sent home, the organization tends to look a little bit flatter when there aren't those visual cues as to who's at the top of the pyramid, so to speak.
Yeah, I think everyone wants to be not in a bad way. The Bill Gates, just humble, hardworking guy, one of the team. Yeah, I shouldn't use Bill Gates. It's a bad scenario we're in right now. But anyhow, yeah. So sorry?
Can of worms.
Yeah, but the typical idea, he's a typical, not overly frivolous individual, low-key looking. If you see him in a typical environment, you would never assume he's the founder, that type of scenario.
Right.
And I think historically, executives always had to play the part, dress the part, have the big office, have, prime space in their offices. That's not the case anymore. I've seen incredible mind shift of leaders being more humble and really understanding without their staff, they're not going anywhere. They can't do this by themselves. So creating a more welcoming environment and considering the office layout as part of their strategy for success.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting shift for sure.
Yeah. So that's it. That's our little quick touch base with POI. We just wanted to make sure that we kind of marry the ideas. We're always available to have further conversations on what workplace strategy and furniture design or office design needs to look like. But at the same time, with Lennard, we just wanted to make sure we understand that our vendors are our true business partners, and we always collaborate as best as we can to provide the best service to our clients. And although we can find premium real estate for them, without the proper office strategy, we're not going to have the best outcome from our clients.
Yeah, well, we appreciate the partnership and look forward to doing lots of work with you.
Thank you so much. We'll follow up with our coordinates at the very end. Thank you again for your time, Carolee. I don't think people understand this is the early Saturday morning we've dedicated to this. So I really want to thank you, and you are busy, and I appreciate the time you've taken to have a quick chat with me about possible relationships for new clients or existing clients to really integrate business office design as part of their strategy with POI and Lennard.
Thanks so much.
Thanks. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Take care.